Would you entrust your life to a doctor who can only rely on their imperfect memory to make split-second decisions without having time to analyze the clinical problem at hand more carefully and deliberately? In a situation of life and death, where other alternative is not present, one might find themselves lucky to rely on the judgment of an experienced physician. Would you be equally happy for your family doctor, whom you have been seeing for 2 decades, to make the same kind of minimally informed split-second decisions about your health during your next annual checkup? Probably not. Such is the difference between the state of the present-day generative pre-trained models, also known as GPTs, and a much broader set of capabilities that we would classify as artificial general intelligence, or AGI, the subject of this podcast. Thank you for listening and subscribing. I'm Alex Chadyuk, and this is AGI. Listen every Monday morning on your favorite podcast platform. An occasional listener of this podcast may find themselves under an impression that I am in some way or another critical of the GPT models that now include image and video generators, in addition to large language models that sit behind the likes of ChatGPT. This cannot be further from the truth. I think that in and of themselves, GPT models present a most groundbreaking advance in the last 2 decades, both in the sphere of technology and in our understanding of the human cognition, not to say of the far-reaching economic, financial, legal, and societal impact on virtually every aspect of our reality. But what I do claim over and over again is that a GPT model presents only one half of a functioning brain, a very important half indeed, but the other half is still missing. Many outstanding AI researchers have shared the same sentiment over the last few months. GPT models are wonderful and magical, yet something is missing. Today, we will discuss what that something is. Human cognition relies on 2 kinds of memory, episodic and semantic. The episodic memory is usually defined as a mental record of something we personally experienced in the past, not necessarily and not only in real life. Our episodic memory is a total sum of stories we carry. Stories of our life, stories of our dreams and fantasies, stories we heard from other people or saw on screen or read in books. That is why the memory has its name. It's a memory of episodes. The semantic memory, on the other hand, is a much smaller and more tightly organized set of ideas we hold true about the world, whether it's physical laws we can reason about, mathematical theorems we may be able to prove, but also some metaphysical ideas we have about morality and ethics and the meaning of life. The line between the 2 types of memory is fairly vague, and it is very easy to confuse one for the other. One simple rule of thumb I may propose, which I kind of alluded to before, is that this episodic memory answers the prompt, "Tell me a story about the time when." The semantic memory is needed to answer more complex analytical queries like explain why this is so and so, or what would happen if this were not such and such. The semantic memory embodies the thinker's current world model and its supporting metaphysics we have been discussing throughout this season. My claim is that the GPT models at present lack semantic memory completely. Everything that we see in a GPT's responses are the stories it heard from people in the form of text or video datasets, stories it internalized in its episodic memory, and is now retelling to us with amazing detail and eloquence. Our own experience in life, the movies we see, the books we read, need to be compressed for us to remember them. We compress them into stories we can then tell to our friends or children who were not there to experience what we experienced. Stories have a structure and tempo of narrative that helps us to reconstruct them from the broken pieces of our fleeting episodic memory. Turning the stories into poems and ballads helped ancient storytellers preserve them for future generations when the only reliable storage medium was the memory of the listener. The tempo and the rhyme of the verse gave a hint of what the next line should be, very much like a modern-day large language model takes the hint of what the next word should be from what has already been said. GPTs are storytellers. Visual stories of an operation an experienced surgeon remembers from their past help them inform a life-saving split-second decision. A modern-day GPT model can do the same, but it cannot explain why it made this decision. The best that we can expect at present is a story of a surgeon who was once asked to explain their decision they took in that split second. The story may be true, and so we take that answer as a sign of GPT's understanding medicine, or a story may be completely made up from the pieces that seemed to fit together. But when we find that story to be untrue, we turn red in the face and talk indignantly of hallucinations. But the fault is ours. We forgot what we should not have forgotten. We built a clever, funny, dramatic, occasionally overusing dashes, but still amazing storyteller that is bound to make our lives better and happier. Just don't ask it what you should not ask, the questions that do not start even implicitly with, "Tell me a story about a time when." Until next Monday, my friends, I'm Alex Chadyuk, and this is AGI.